Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
So welcome to the Healers Café, and today I have with me Sharon Smith, and I'm really excited to be interviewing her because basically we are in the same field of helping people with pain. So let me read a little bit about her bio. So I'll do that right now. So I've been in the business of helping people release pain since 2005. What I've discovered is that pain is actually a finely calibrated information system in the body. It's here to help us, not harm us, and is trying to communicate something important or something important and things about our body and our lives. The problem has been that we do our best to ignore it, work around it, or medicate it. We haven't been open to listening to pain because we haven't had the tools to hear it clearly. And so Sharon's purpose is I'm here to change people's perspective about pain, and I've developed a proven system that allows us to both access the information while also releasing the pain and effectively. So I am thrilled to be interviewing you, starting actually not with what you do, but we're going to get there. But how did you come about noticing that this is something you're, I don't know, I don't want to even put words in your mouth, but that this is your path?
Oh, I didn't want to do this at all. This would have been like one of the last things. I didn't even like sick people.
You're funny.
Yeah, well, it was true. I had simply suffered with lower back and hip pain since my late teens. In my 20s, I added migraines, chronic migraines into the mix. And I tried everything. I went to doctors, I had acupuncture, chiropractic, and a lot of things did help, but only for a little while. And nothing was a permanent fix. And so fast forward through all of that mess to 2002. I had a husband, 2 little kids. We just built a house. I was working. I was under a lot of pressure. I was 45 at the time and in perfect health, regular yoga practice. You know, I just was fine. And I kept having all this pain. And one day I leaned over to put a cup in the dishwasher and I could not straighten up. And it was awful. I was in bed for a solid week. And, you know, I didn't want to think that emotions played any part in this. I didn't want to do that. I just wasn't interested in that. And what I did do during that week I laid there, I made myself a promise that I was going to figure out why this was happening to me, and I was going to get it fixed. I was going to find a way to fix it so it didn't happen anymore. And I should also interject, this isn't on my site, but I'm just going to tell you because it's us and all these other people too, of course.
That's the nature of it.
Yes, I'm also a practicing psychic, clairvoyant, and medium, and I didn't want to do that either. That was no fun as a kid. But during that week I laid there, whacked out on muscle relaxers and painkillers. I'm blaming the drugs for it. I said, okay, I'll do what you want me to do. Just show me what you want me to do. I give up. I surrender. I give up. I'll do it. And I started looking. And this was the end of 2002. And I had known about EFT, emotional freedom techniques, or as I just call it, tapping. I'd known about that for a while, a year or so, from Joe Mercola's wonderful natural health newsletter. And I thought, yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I don't know what you'd ever do with that. It didn't click with me. And one day I went to have a massage with a friend of mine, and she said, oh my God, you have to see this list. And it was in the back of a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And You're Not in Your Head by Karol Kuhn Truman.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's a list, for those of you listening, it's a wonderful book. I recommend it to everyone. There is a list in the back of over 200 ailments and illnesses and their probable underlying emotional causes. The next 60 seconds after I looked at that changed my life. And as soon as I saw it, I knew immediately that that's what you say when you tap. pain, and it was a whole download of information that came in. I could see immediately that pain is supposed to be a guide and a map, that it's not here to hurt us. It's here to talk to us, to tell us what we're not holding on, what we're holding on to that we shouldn't be, and that we've completely misjudged what it is. And I could see all the ways to help this. And I started working the same day. So that's how I started. I got certified. Gary Craig came to Denver, which is not far from me. And maybe 6 months later, I applied for his master's boot camp, and they said, yeah, we'll take you. You seem to have enough hours. And I thought, yes. And I truly never looked back.
Wow. That was when, how long ago was that now?
2005 was when I began practice.
So you've been doing this now like 15, I can't do my math, but 16 years, right?
I started when I was 5. I'm actually very young. Yeah, I have been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's my story.
Interesting.
And it's a good one. And people are always very, I get it when they don't want to look at emotional stuff as being a trigger for physical symptoms. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to either. But guess what, guys?
How did it even cross your mind that, oh, maybe it's emotional?
It didn't until I saw the list.
Ah, okay. It's the list.
That was when it all clicked in my mind, and I just immediately understood that I was looking at it completely wrong. Mm-hmm. And it was emotional stuff. And yeah, I'm fine now. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, and my students, same thing. And you can use it for everything. It's one of those things. I like to explain it simply because it is a complementary thing. It's a modality, and it does look ridiculous. You're going to take 2 fingers and you're going to tap some acupuncture points on your body while you talk out loud. And yeah, we're going to look silly doing that. Mm-hmm. But here's how it works. We're electrical in nature. And we know this. If we've ever had an EKG, they're measuring the electrical output of your heart. That's not woo-woo, we get that. And this electrical charge runs through our bodies, and it runs along our acupuncture meridians in great force, measurable force, by the way. And what EFT proposes, well, and since you're talking about acupuncture, that's been around a lot of centuries. I believe that those meridians are an actual schematic of our physical wiring. We're wired just like the motherboard in a computer. And EFT proposes that when you have one of the big 3 so-called negative emotions, fear, anger, grief, it can cause a short in your wiring that results in pain, dis-ease. Mm-hmm. But when you physically access your wiring yourself with your own hands, you don't have to do anything or buy equipment. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is this and tap and talk, and you can repair that. You can request a repair in that short in your wiring, which results in no more pain. I'm going to quit now.
No, that's great. That's great. So some of my viewers will be, obviously completely interested, but I tend to always attract skeptics because I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic of everything. And
I too.
Life has actually decided to teach me about that and open me up to possibilities I would have limited myself had I not exposed myself to them. So go figure, right? Anyways, so what kind of, give me like a true, maybe like a spectrum of things. So somebody with like a slip disc, for example,
which is basically what they said I had.
Okay, so tell me literally a real, like, if you don't mind sharing your story, your statement I mean, I think the points are the same, if I'm not mistaken, pretty well. People do the same under their shoulder.
Oh yeah, and there's no bad way to tap. I don't think it's anything you can mess up. If you forget a point, not a big deal. It will still help you. But what you have to do, and this is my free thing, it's my freebie on my website.
Oh, is that something at the end that maybe I could share?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. That's great.
My free stuff. I've got lots of great free stuff, but some of it they have to subscribe to get. In this culture, in Western culture, when someone comes to me with lower back pain, about 75% of the time, I know that it's going to involve a fear having to do with money. Zero to do with whether or not you have enough money to pay your bills. It's simply a fear. And I had that in spades. I grew up with it. We always had plenty of money, but I had that active. The other thing it can be about 25% of the time is a hurtful relationship. And I had all of it going on. A lot of times it's a combination of those things. When we go in, and literally, you can do this with one of my free videos I have. If you've got lower back pain, please go to my site, go see me on YouTube. Do this. You will feel a difference in about a minute or two. You just will, because it's so effective. But you have to talk about the emotional stuff first. You've got to go in and get quiet. And I usually let the student go have a look at what's there. It's a guided visualization. And that's the first free thing that you get when you subscribe to me.
Okay.
I take you through that. Then you get, as if that wasn't already pretty good, I give them a video following that takes them through how to tap to release what they just saw. So it's a good duo.
Okay, so let's do it, if you don't mind, because I'm all about experience.
Oh, good. Okay. So do you hurt somewhere? What have you got?
I don't actually have anything. That's a bit of an issue. Sorry about that.
Okay, well.
Let's take sciatica, because I have somebody quite in mind currently that I'm not able to see right at this very moment.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing patients, but this is a friend of mine, and he has protruded disc on the right side between L5 and S1, and L4 S1, yeah, and was anyways in excruciating pain. So I'm like going with that. So what's the next step?
Well,
and then he knows nothing. And
okay, well, first,
what would you put me through? I'll pretend to be him.
Well, first I would have you close your eyes and take a breath and go in and look at that area of your body where you have the pain.
Okay, and so literally get to that pain spot.
Yeah, absolutely go and look at it, because sometimes people have things going on there that don't quite fit into the common profile of what I would expect. And it can be specific. So I want them to go look at what they have there. And it involves getting quiet. You may see color, shape, texture, could see somebody's face. I don't get to be in charge of what anyone sees. And the next thing I'm going to have you do is just ask in your mind, whoever I'm working with, ask what emotions are there. And it's amazing how body parts are chatty. You know, they always go, oh, it says it's angry, or, oh, I see my mother there. I mean, there's always something. And then I have them look at it and say, okay, what would this area of your body look like if it was completely free of pain and perfectly happy? And they'll describe how that's going to look. And then I have them open their eyes, and then we begin tapping and working with those emotions, what they just saw and described.
So let's say, I'll just go for an emotion, making this up. I feel disappointed.
Okay. Are you, I want to do something with you personally, though. Are you disappointed in something? Is there something else that makes you angry? No? You're smiling too much to have much of that.
I know. I've done a lot of work.
I know, we all have. It's like,
I'm trying to think what I could do. I had a tooth. I can't tell which side.
What the heck? Disappointment is a good thing. Let's just start here on the outside of the
Yeah, let's
hand.
just do it. It's fine. I can get into disappointment. So,
okay. All right. Let's just work with the outside of the hand. And this is complete for those of you listening. This is completely bilateral. You can tap either hand, either side on the face points. You can tap both hands. There is no way to do this wrong. So just start gently tapping on the outer fleshy part, like the karate chop point on your hand. And for those of you who are watching, good for you. It's going to be a lot easier. And I was going to say, I'm really disappointed. Come on, Manon.
I'm really disappointed. Okay. And how important is it to feel the emotion as you're saying it? Does it matter?
Only sort of. It's going to work either way. It really doesn't matter whether you think it's going to work or whether you've got it conjured up. It's nice to quantify it. I would usually say, okay, rate your disappointment from 0 to 10, with 10 being over.
So I'm going to pick something, because you can always pick things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to, but I'm also going to pick a situation where that could be an experience. So let's go for a 6.
Okay, something you're actually really disappointed about.
Yeah, I had to conjure it up because I wasn't thinking about it, and it's not, you know.
But you've got a 6.
Yeah, no, when I think about what I could be feeling if I focused on it, which I don't, because that's not how I live my universe, I would say 6.
Okay, let's just go there.
Okay.
I'm really disappointed.
I'm really disappointed.
And I haven't wanted to look at it.
And I haven't wanted to look at it.
But I choose to be okay anyway.
But I choose to be okay anyway.
And I completely love and accept myself.
And I completely love and accept myself.
Even though I'm really disappointed and I haven't wanted to think about it or feel it.
Even though I'm really disappointed and I haven't wanted to
think about it or feel it.
Think about it or feel it.
I know it's still there.
I know it's still there.
And I choose to be okay anyway.
And I choose to be okay anyway.
Because I completely love and accept myself.
Because I completely love and accept myself.
Okay, now for those of you watching and listening, what we just did is the setup. Just like pulling up a file on your computer when you want to make a change. That's what we just did, is display the file in our computer, which is our brain.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to begin to make changes to the file. Go to the top of the head. All this disappointment.
All this disappointment.
If I let myself think about it.
If I let myself think about it.
And now the eyebrow point. It would feel really crappy.
It would feel really crappy.
It would mess up my whole universe.
It would mess up my whole universe.
To feel that.
To feel that.
So I just have ignored it.
So I've just ignored it.
But I allow myself to remember.
But I allow myself to remember.
That I did experience it.
That I did experience it.
And so I know it's a part of my vibration.
So I know it's a part of my vibration.
But I'm open to letting it go now.
But I'm open to letting it go now.
What if this disappointment had more to do?
And where is this point here?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is collarbones. Take your whole hand. It's easier to just take your whole hand and tap the whole upper part of your chest and collarbones. There you go. What if this disappointment I felt?
What if this disappointment I felt
had more to do with my expectations?
Had more to do with my expectations.
Than with someone else really letting me down.
Than with somebody else really letting me down.
Okay, now underneath the arm, this is about 4 inches below your armpit on either side.
Okay.
What if this was just a lesson for me?
What if this was just a lesson for me?
In how to learn to let go of disappointment.
In how to learn to let go of disappointment.
Now back to the top of the head. And I'm letting go of it now.
And I'm letting go of it now.
Because I conveniently waited, holding on to it.
Because I conveniently waited, holding on to it.
Until Sharon was here.
Until Sharon was here.
Because we're having so much fun letting this go.
Because we're having so much fun letting this go.
I allow myself to see the lesson and teaching in this experience.
I allow myself to see the lesson and teaching in this experience.
And to know that this disappointment served a purpose in my life.
And to know that this disappointment served a purpose in my life.
And now that I've learned from that, I can let it go.
And now that I've learned from that, I can let it go.
It's perfectly safe for me to let it go.
It's perfectly safe for me to let it go.
I completely love and accept myself.
I completely love and accept myself.
All right, now I want you to hold your wrist points. For those of you listening, it's top and bottom. And I want you to breathe into your nose and blow it out. And say peace.
Peace.
All
And
right.
can you show me the wrist points? Let go a little higher just to be sure that we're clear.
Just top and the bottom.
Okay.
I watched someone demonstrating, you know, there are a lot of different EFT groups and factions here, and I loved adding this in and saying peace at the end. So I added it into my practice.
So like, would it be on like pericardium 6 or the heart meridian or where?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's right here. You'll have to tell me where that is, right?
On
right
this side. Okay, I know where it is on this side, but this one I'm not sure.
You
okay.
can hold either hand. It's okay. Either way.
Yeah.
Just get close. It'll work.
Yeah.
I promise.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. And
so now I want you to tune in and see if you still can conjure up any disappointment about that.
Yeah, actually less. Yeah, it's I try to bring it up, you know.
You kind of cut out.
So it should be the same. Oh, yeah, it is less. I would say, yeah, I don't even know that I feel it, actually. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if you still got that in there, I'll eat my hat because I think that.
No, unfortunately, I will be completely honest with you. No, but I don't. So, but this is interesting because it's not something. I literally tried to figure something out that if I didn't live my life how I see my life, I could focus on, but I don't focus on it. But still, it's not like I'm suppressing it or anything, not consciously, but I could come up with something, right? Yeah. So that could also be, I mean, it's good to do this for things that you may not think have an impact because there was a shift.
Yeah. And actually, for those of you who are looking at this, Manon's face kind of relaxed when we got about halfway through that. Your features relaxed. I've been doing this a long time. It's like we can quit now, but I continued and finished out the round. It's like, okay, we're done. See you guys.
Awesome. I'll have to watch this again.
Now, I want to say something to all of you watching. This is an important thing when you are, for life, but especially when you are using tapping as a tool, or maybe even acupuncture. You know how everybody tells you to stay hydrated?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody ever quite really tell you why? Not really. Even doctors. What are you going to do? Here's my take on it. We know we're electrical in nature, and when you go out to start your car in the morning, if your battery's low on fluid, what happens? Nothing.
Not much. No.
Yeah, your car won't start because that battery cannot carry an electrical charge. This charge that flows through our bodies is carried on water. Mm-hmm. And when people are tapping with my videos or on their own, I tell this to everybody I work with, anyone I can get my hands on. If you're tapping, especially with me, and you are not getting an immediate result, and I mean like in a minute or two, my stuff works fast. I'm the microwave of feeling better. Go drink 6 ounces of water and come back and do it again. Mm-hmm. It's that big a deal.
Yeah, I would concur with that too, because the work I do with bone first therapy, it's a body work. We use meridian lines, which is similar in that way, but also fascia lines are very much synchronous with meridian lines. Wow. And if the fascia is not hydrated, no communication goes through our lymphatic system, or nothing actually circulates. And that's a super important aspect of it.
I agree. Fascia is a big thing. And sometimes I do tapping to release, like if you're having pain, I do it and we go through all the systems. We go through bones, joints, muscle, nerves, fascia and connective tissue, blood and fluids, and release out of each of those things. And that's pretty beneficial too. We're doing that after we're clearing out some emotional stuff. It just depends on the person I'm working with.
Right.
But that can be really useful.
So I noticed too that in your, because I'm not completely new to EFT, it's not something that I've put in my practice or that I'm practicing, but I've experimented a little bit with it. One of the things that I found interesting though is you picked up that not only that I said the whatever disappointment, you also said, I forget what it is exactly because things slip immediately. Do you have anything from memory? There's a story there for sure.
I do actually. I have a video
Really?
for increased neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. And
okay, well,
I'll tell you sometime off the air, I've seen some really bizarre, remarkable stuff from that.
Oh, great. Okay, well, we might be back on the air.
Well, yeah.
Because I bet you I'm not the only person with this issue. But no,
Right.
what I was saying though is I noticed that you picked up added parts to it, which you decided not to address until now. Or so how do we create, or is that part of what you teach, how you create the sentences that feel right? Like what's the art of doing that?
I'm a good listener. You totally told me what you needed.
Got it.
I am able to listen. I am able to listen because I will tell you here publicly again, oh my gosh, I'm out of the closet. I'm also a practicing psychic, clairvoyant, and medium. And I do use my ability. I'm not wandering around saying, oh, tell Aunt Tootie I love her. It's like, no, it's only useful for me in terms of working with people. Mm-hmm. But I will sometimes, I listen with all of me.
Yes, okay.
When I'm working. And when I record a video, I see that person in front of me, and it may be 1,000 persons, but I see that person in front of me and I connect with them. Mm-hmm. And I go through it doing the work as I would one-on-one with you watching. Mm-hmm. So they're always fresh, and people feel like I am working one-on-one with them, and they're right, I am.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and interesting, because I definitely picked that up with your work, and I think that's one of the biggest skills as a practitioner is the ability to really listen. You know, like it's like, you know, sure, you have the agenda, which is EFT. That's like the kind of like that's how. But
yeah.
If you don't get the piece, I think it affects the methodology. At least I don't know if that's your experience or not, because you've only got the experience of you, but you are training other people, I understand, right?
I'm not.
No, you're not. Oh, okay. I misunderstood you. Okay.
No, I don't know how, I mean, they can go get certified in EFT somewhere, but I use a lot of techniques that are not EFT.
Got it.
In one-on-one work. I have a process that is proprietary for DNA release. Mm-hmm. We actually go in and remove a lot of, you know, we inherit stuff from our parents that they never intended for us to get. Go figure. And, you know, if someone comes in and they say, well, I've got this bad back, I got it from my parents, everybody in my family has a bad back. Well, I'm going to say, no, there's probably nothing wrong with your back. What happens is that you inherited the problems that cause you to be afraid or have hurtful stuff. And that's where you tend to short out in your wiring. Mm-hmm. You really have a good back. Mm-hmm. I promise your back is really good, and it supported you beautifully through a lot of things, and mine had too. But you kind of have to look at it a little different.
Mm-hmm. So going back to your experience, because it's a physical thing, which you suddenly realized, or suddenly you opened up to the possibility that there
Yeah.
might be some emotional component. How did you get to the emotion? Like, because some people, I believe that our cells have, the emotional, mental, the belief, the genetic aspect that can be turned on and off, and the physicality of it. So it's like, it's all there. So of course it's all there. But some people say, well, I slipped, or I sneezed and my back went out. It's like an emotion, So how do you deal with
Well, it actually is. For me, there is no such thing as an accident. When someone said, well, I fell and hurt myself on the ice, so that's not an emotional thing. And I'm going to sit there and talk to them for just a couple minutes, and we're going to go back to what happened, what was going on in their lives before they slipped and fell and hurt themselves. And there's always a clear connection there. There is. They had just had a fight with their husband, or they had an ongoing thing. Their mother was in the hospital dying. Always there is something like that, and they just stop themselves. When you have a big accident like that, that is you stopping yourself from moving to get your attention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. To get your own attention.
Yes, to get your attention. You physically, your higher self stops you physically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we've all had that, toes. I've done it before. You're walking through the house and all of a sudden you stub your toe, and you're, jumping around and talking dirty and swearing. And I pay a lot more attention to that than most people, because I know that toes have to do with worrying too much about the details of the future. And as you stub your toe, and I'm going, oh crap, it is. Yes, okay, I'm obsessing about it. And the next thing I do is I'm going to tap. As soon as my toe quits hurting and I'm jumping around, I'm going to tap, and I'm going to let go of obsessing about those details.
Okay. So the kind of the list of knowing what are, like, that toes means obsessing about the future, for example, and all that. Where is that generated?
Again, and I use it, I have so much of it because I've worked with it so many years. But I use a couple of lists, and I refer people to them all the time. The first one is in Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die by Karol Kuhn Truman. Mm-hmm. The second list is in You Can Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. Yep. And there is some crossover in the list. Some things are not on one or on the other, and there's some little different aspects of it, but both of those are invaluable. It's hard when you're tapping for yourself to always get quiet and get in touch with what you're feeling. That's why going to a practitioner or working with a video is very useful. Right.
Okay. And so with a video, you how do you do that? You press pause and go to the next stage, or like how? It seems like I can see working with a practitioner, and I can see kind of trying to download it as best as you can. But how do you do that with a video? What do you mean?
Well, when I start, for instance, with my video for knee pain, and I actually have a package of work that's been my most popular, bizarrely enough, for knee pain. And what I found, knees can be a lot of different things, not wanting to be flexible. But what I really found, the energy with that, working with clients, was that it was the feeling of not liking being bossed around. Now, nobody enjoys being bossed around, but if it really, really annoys you, that's where you tend to stick it, is in your knees. And like on a basketball team, if you've got a coach yelling at kids, some of them are just fine with it. They're like, okay, whatever. But some of them won't be fine with it. And the next thing you know, they've got knee issues. Right. And I've seen that just countless times. It's an individual thing. But what we do is, and I don't work with kids, but what we do is with adults, we go in, we're going to start off and we're going to tap, and we're going to say, oh, I really hate being bossed around. You got to do this video with me. You'll love it. I hate it. I stuck it in my knees. I have literally had this, a guy came to me and he was recovering from having knee replacement. He was a longtime friend. And I said, we were sitting there in a waiting room, and I said, I do this thing how much flexibility do you have there after that? And he said, oh, I'm going to PT and it's not very flexible. And he kind of showed me, and I said, well, I do this thing. You want to see if it'll help that a little bit? You're going to look, are you willing to look silly for about 60 seconds? He's like, sure. So we tapped and said exactly some of the things that are in that video. 60 seconds. I am not exaggerating. And I said, okay, move. And he had increased his range of motion 100% in 60 seconds following knee replacement. So
yeah, no, I get it.
yeah. Well, he was like, how did you do that? Oh, and I do have to say that when people say, how did you do that? Or call me a healer, I do not bill myself as that.
Right. Yes.
I'm not even a coach. I'm more of a relentless cheerleader than anything, I think.
You know, that's funny. That's the word I've used for myself. You know, it's like, I'm witnessing the incredible capacity of the body to want to heal. And that's it. And in some ways, yeah, you may be the conduit using a little system or another, you know.
Well,
but
yes, it's through me, not by me.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Everything. And the person who is recovering and releasing the stuff is the person doing the healing. And then they say, really, I'm doing it myself? It's like, yes, you are. I'm actually getting paid for doing nothing.
That's funny. That's the kind of dialogue that runs around in my clinic too. You know, it's like, and I don't know if you know, or you're familiar with my work, but we barely touch people and we let them integrate, and they lay on the table and they think that it's like, what on earth is she doing? And I say, not much, you're doing it. And because, you know, we allow for that space where people go into interoception, they're actually shifting what's going on inside their own body, right? So there's so many different ways of, no pun intended, tapping in to you know, this field of endless possibility that our bodies represent, you know. And so I love finding out, you know, different things, different ways, because I don't know, my belief, and I'm just curious about yours, but you know, it's like, it's also your alignment is something that resonates, you know. It's like somewhere, yeah, in there, you know, it's got to feel right. The practitioner's got to resonate. Like, there's several elements that make it your moment at this moment, you know.
Well, and I want to go back to another thing, because what you're talking about is a thing that I teach as well. And I don't know if anyone else is saying it quite this way, but are you familiar, we're going to talk about water again for just a moment. Are you familiar with Masaru Emoto's work?
I am.
Messages in water. Okay. Basically, he was a researcher, he's Japanese, and they set out to photograph water crystals. And what they found was that when they spoke to water, it actually changed the formation of the crystals. And what they said made a difference. If they said nice stuff, the crystals formed and were beautiful and symmetrical. If they said, I hate you, the crystals would be broken when they photographed them. And it's a whole long thing. There's a series of books. I highly recommend them. But when, you know, we're a huge percentage of water. And what if, okay, so this charge that flows through our bodies is electrical. And I think it has, every drop of water that's ever been on the planet is still here. It's been in other people, it's been in dinosaurs, in plants, in the ocean. And this charge that flows through our body, I think, gets called different things depending on the culture we live in. If you're in Asia, it's ki or chi. In India, it's prana. In our culture, I believe it's our spirit. And water is required to animate it. Every culture in the world has instructions handed down to give thanks before eating and drinking. What if this has nothing to do with religion, but what if it has everything to do with requesting a molecular change in the water that you are about to consume to suit your particular physiology?
Yeah, that's brilliant, actually. But I think it's it makes complete sense, because, you know, we create meaning, we give things meaning, and what if that was the meaning we wanted to imbue in the experience? Even intending that or seeing it that way would change everything, and changes everything anyways. You know, like, that's the beauty of it.
You can't unknow it. So
exactly.
I just a whole bunch of people, and you're stuck with it. You can't unknow it.
Yes, totally. Okay, well, so gosh, time has gone so fast.
I know.
Is there any?
Talk about where they go to get my free stuff?
Yes, let's do that, and then also, let's see. I'm sure I had a specific question for you.
Really good.
I probably did. Okay. Well, there's the memory piece. No, I did write it down, but no, I think we've covered it actually. It's like your feeling towards the word healer, and you've explained.
I'm not that.
Yeah. So what made you be okay with Healers Café?
Oh, I just loved you immediately. You could call it whatever you wanted. I was still in. It's like, oh, I really like her.
Because I had a lot of doubts about that name, but so many people said that's what you should call it, because that is what people think first, and then
it's necessary to say that. So I think it's an okay name.
Okay, thanks.
I think it's your name. I think we'll get flashcards for it.
Great. Okay. So back to what your gift is and how people can get it, and it will be on the web.
It will be, and
yes.
I will send you the link to my website so you can do it with your promotional stuff. And I also will send you, just because, my neurogenesis and neuroplasticity video, just because I think you'll like it.
Okay.
So my website is just the letter A, pain plan, PLAN.com. That's the place. And if you click on any of the buttons that say, tell me more, help me with my pain, anything on that home page, it's going to take you to where you subscribe, and then you immediately get access to those 2 wonderful free videos that you love. And you also get my, every other week I send out a vlog. I always do it in video, and you can always unsubscribe if you don't like it, but I talk about everything. You know, I talk about my cats, I talk about, and we always do some tapping. There's always tapping in every one of them. So
Great.
It's fun stuff.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the show, and till we meet again.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Manon. Bless you. Mwah.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.